Okay, I have a confession. I'm a selfish person. Why do I say that? Because to date, I have only ever given away two of my quilts. I like my quilts. I want to keep my quilts. After all, I've spent a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of effort putting them together. So I'm kind of loath to give them up. They're like my children. I don't have any children, but my quilts are like children for me. You know, I saw them at their conception. I saw them when they were completed, all grown up, all nice and mature, and the whole bit, and I love them. And then what do I do with them? I fold them up and put them on a chair. Or I fold them up and put them on my guest room bed. Or I fold them up and lay them across a table. Or I pack them away into my crawl space if they're seasonal. In other words, I'm not putting them on display. I have quilts all over my house. I have a quilt ladder. It is full. I have some chairs in my rec room that basically sit off in a corner. I have those with quilts on top of them. I have couches and love seats and comfortable chairs with a quilt on them. My guest bedroom, the bed, has about 12 quilts laid out on it. There's a quilt on my own bed. There's quilts on the walls. You can see some behind me. I have quilts everywhere in this house. Do I need more quilts? No, I don't. So why do I make quilts? Well, it's simple. I like to make things. And I love the process of making a quilt. I love finding a pattern, picking the colors, putting the pieces together, getting it all layered, and now that I have Juicy Lucy, putting them on the long arm and quilting them. I love the process. But when I'm done the process, I'm done with the quilt. Yeah, I'm already looking towards my next project. In fact, sometimes halfway through a quilt project, I get a little bored. And something like squirrel, I see another pattern and I can't wait to get started on it. So that creates UFOs. I'm trying not to have UFOs, but really, if I'm not going to give the quilt away or I haven't made it for a very specific purpose, then where's the incentive to finish it? And that's how you get UFOs. But I digress. So I don't give my quilts away, but I should. Now, having said that, about 2 years ago or so, it was pre-COVID actually, one of my friends wanted to commission me to make him a quilt in a certain style for his living room couch. Now, I know this person very, very well. I knew exactly what I was going to make him. And of course, he offered to pay for everything and pay me for it and whatnot. And I said, no, you're a friend. I will make you a quilt. Now, I happen to have had a kit, and it was a quilt made with Tim Holtz fabrics. And Tim Holtz fabrics are very vintage, antique-like, and that is very much what my friend is into. So I knew this was going to be the perfect quilt for him. So I made it, and I gave it to him. And I was very proud of the fact that he loved it, and that it turned out really nice. So, yeah, I felt good about that. So, although it was one of my babies, I wasn't as, what do you want to say? I wasn't as committed to it as I would to be some of my other quilts, because after all, it was a kit. So it wasn't like I sat down and planned it all out. It was already pre-planned and the fabrics had already been selected. I just followed the pattern and put it together. So that one was easy to part with. But then I got contacted by some relatives who wanted a quilt. Actually, my husband's brother-in-law kind of volunteered one of my quilts to his son and daughter-in-law. And that was fine. His heart was in the right place. But, I was being sort of put on the spot. So I had about 3 quilts sitting here that I thought might be suitable. And I sent them pictures of them and said, pick one of these. Of course, they picked the quilt that out of the 3 I loved the most, because it was one that was made with curves. And I had taken this as a class, and I was very proud of the fact that I was able to have mastered curves for this. But it was a nice quilt, and it was just sitting folded up on a chair or on the guest bed, not seeing the light of day. So yeah, I thought, okay, let's use this as the way to break out of this idea that you can't give quilts away. And I gave it away. So it found a nice home, and they seem to be thrilled with it. And I'm still waiting to see pictures of it being used. But that's a story for another day. So yeah, that kind of broke the ice. Well, then I got thinking, as well, this year with Christmas, I wanted to make a couple of quilts as gifts for people. So I have, and I have shown those on the Idiot Quilter. I've got a couple of quilts that were UFOs that I've had sitting around for a long time. Now that I have Juicy Lucy, I got them on Juicy Lucy. I've quilted them, and they're going to be gifts for a nephew and a niece as well. So I'm slowly getting out of this mode that I can't give a quilt away. Because after all, I have made, since I started quilting, about, how many years have I been quilting now? About 4 years. Time flies when you're having fun making quilts. I have probably 30, 40 quilts. So yeah, it's time to give some away. Now, having said that, a friend of mine asked me if I would sell some of my quilts. I have mixed feelings about that. One, it goes back to originally about giving away a quilt. Two, if I sell some of my quilts, then the level of expectation by the buyer goes up, or at least my expectation of what the buyer should be expecting goes up. I mean, some of these quilts, there are mistakes in them. I covered them up as best I could, but there are mistakes. And if someone's going to pay for a quilt, you want it to be perfect. At least I think I do. You know, quality for the money, right? Then there comes the whole thing about, what do you charge? You know, usually these are friends I would be selling them to, and I don't want to profit off of their, from them. But at the same time, you need to cover your costs, and your time and effort is a cost factor as well. So if you figure that all in, one of my quilts is quite expensive. Now, I don't know if some of my friends would think, they're not quilters, are thinking, you can pick one up for $100. That doesn't even probably cover the cost of the fabric and the thread and the batting and the backing, not to mention the time. What is one of my quilts worth? Well, I'm not really sure. I guess it depends. Do you want to just cover your costs? If that's the case, then the cost of the quilt is the cost of the fabric that went into it, not taking into consideration my time and effort. But if you want to make a profit, then how much profit do you want to make? Should you work out what it costs you on an hourly rate? I don't know how you would do that to make the quilt. Do you double the price of the materials that went into it? Either way, any way you look at it, I don't think you really can make a business out of making quilts for other people. I mean, not a business where you're going to make loads and loads of money. Do I want to make loads and loads of money from it? No. But you do want something to show for, your effort if you're going to sell it. And at least with any money that you do make, you could look at it from the point of view it's going to buy you more fabric, right? Or at least put that money towards, what it cost you for a long arm. But I don't know. So I have offered to one of my friends who said they want to buy one of my quilts, or if they were for sale, and I said, okay, here you go. Tell me what colors you like. Find me some patterns that you like on Google. Tell me the size that you would like. And let me know what you're going to use it for. Is this going on a bed? Is this going on a wall? Is this going over the back of a couch? Whatever. And we can talk. I'm taking a chance here by making that offer because the pressure's on then. If this person comes up with all those things, then I do feel I'm committed to make them a quilt. And then, do I charge them just for the cost of the fabrics? Or do I charge them a little bit more to cover my time and effort in this? And of course, I want to make sure the quilt is absolutely perfect. So it's a bit of a dilemma. I think the best way to go about this, at least for me, is to think about this as more or less, since I enjoy the journey of making a quilt, then I should give it away. Not ask for any money for it, because it's a hobby. I'm going to be spending the money anyways to make a quilt, whether it's a commissioned quilt or not. So, and I already know that I'm not going to sell them for a huge profit because I'll never make enough money to make it a viable business. And I don't need to have a business. Once you have a business making quilts, it's no longer fun. Anything you make, anything that you use your creative talent for that gives you pleasure, gives you joy, is a hobby. As soon as you make it into a business, it's no longer fun. And I don't want to take the fun out of making quilts because that's why I make them. They're fun. I like making them. So that's my dilemma. Maybe you have some suggestions about this kind of thing. And if you do, put them in the comments below. But for now, one, I'm not making it into a business. And two, yeah, I am going to start giving more quilts away.